everybody. Thank you for watching. My name is BC Begley, and it is Thursday, February the 23rd of 2023, and here are today's top news headlines. The United States Pentagon made a vague threat to China over arming Russia. The Pentagon on Wednesday pledged consequences for Beijing if it heeds Moscow's desperate pleas for arms and ammunition, but yet again stopped short of detailing how it would follow through on the stern but vague threat. Spokeswoman Sabrina Singh delivered the cagey response during a press conference in which she said that despite repeated requests for specifics, quote, "I don't want to forecast any of those consequences," she said. It wasn't the first such shadowy warning. Also, in an interview that aired on Sunday on CBS News, the Secretary of State Antony Blinken referred to a, quote, "serious problem if China looked to strengthen its alliance with Russia at this time." Okay, let's go to Georgia, where a Trump grand juror stirred up controversy by hinting at panel's advice. The foreperson of a special grand jury investigating former President Donald Trump's efforts to overturn Georgia's election results has complicated the work of prosecutors with a series of surprisingly frank media interviews, but is unlikely to get any potential cases thrown out. Legal experts said the unusual candor about secret proceedings, while not unlawful, is almost certain to be used by lawyers defending anyone ultimately charged. In a series of interviews with news organizations, including the Associated Press, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, NBC, and the New York Times, the jury foreperson, Emily Kohrs, said that the panel's still secret recommendations include indicting more than a dozen people, even hinting strongly that one of the targets would be former President Trump. Quote, "You are not going to be shocked," Kohrs told The Times when asked whether the Fulton County panel had recommended charging the former president. Quote, "It's not rocket science," she said. Okay, let's go over to Ohio, where the United States Secretary of the Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, has finally visited the Ohio train derailment site. This month's toxic train derailment in a small Ohio village has put Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg under pressure like never before, leaving him scrambling to contain a public health and transportation crisis on partially under his purview while absorbing the brunt of the attacks from the Biden administration's adversaries. Publicly and privately, signs are growing that the Transportation Secretary's usual Eagle Scout patience is giving way to frustration. He has gotten into Twitter spats with U.S. senators. His cut brush off a Daily Caller reporter who ambushed him during a walk turned into a viral video that has drawn more than 3 million views since Tuesday evening. And on Wednesday, Buttigieg's allies were complaining that he's taking an unfair pounding over the disaster, all because of his perceived ambitions as a one-time and future presidential hopeful. Okay, so the special counsel has asked a judge to compel former Vice President Mike Pence to testify in the January 6th probe. Federal prosecutors have asked the chief judge in Washington, D.C.'s federal court to compel former Vice President Mike Pence to comply with a grand jury subpoena and testify as a witness in special counsel Jack Smith's investigation into the efforts surrounding the January 6, 2020 riot at the U.S. Capitol. This is according to 3 people familiar with the investigation who then told it to CBS News. Now, the motion to compel former Vice President Pence's testimony, which was filed in secret to Chief Judge Barry Howell in recent days, came after lawyers for former President Donald Trump asserted executive privilege in response to Pence's subpoena, the people said. That assertion of executive privilege on Pence's subpoena, the people added, is in line with how Trump's team has responded to related subpoenas over the past year, with Trump's attorneys often arguing that private conversations or interactions with the president should remain as confidential. Now, the latest filing also comes after Pence has signaled he would oppose a subpoena from Smith's office. Okay, let's go to Europe, where the European Commission has banned the app TikTok from official devices. The European Commission has banned TikTok from official devices due to concerns about cybersecurity, a move that has sharply been criticized by the company in its latest run-in with Western governments over how it handles user data. Commission staff have until March 15th to delete the short-form video app, which is owned by China's ByteDance, from work devices and any personal devices that use Commission apps and services. Based in Brussels, the European Commission is the executive arm of the European Union, which is responsible for proposing and enforcing legislation and implementing the European Union's budget. It employs around 32,000 permanent and contract workers. Quote, this measure aims to protect the Commission against cybersecurity threats and actions which may be exploited for cyber attacks against the corporate environment of the Commission, the Commission said in a statement that was released on Thursday. The European Commission spokesperson Sonia Gospodinova told reporters that the ban was, quote, temporary and, quote, under constant review and possible reassessment, end quote. Okay, let's go to Minnesota, where lawmakers passed legislation that would grant illegal immigrants U.S. driver's licenses. The Minnesota Senate passed a piece of legislation on Wednesday that would allow illegal immigrants the ability to obtain a United States driver's license without requiring proof that they are in the country lawfully. The, quote, driver's license for all legislation states that a person applying for a driver's license or state ID, quote, is not required to demonstrate United States citizenship or lawful presence in the United States, according to the most current version of the text. Now, Republicans in the Minnesota State Senate sought to amend the bill's language on Tuesday to include not for flying or not for voting over concerns that an illegal immigrant might have the ability to vote in U.S. elections. The bill, however, was passed in the Minnesota House in January before being cleared in the state Senate this week. After slight revisions to the text are made, it will be sent back to the House for final review before heading to the Democratic Governor Tim Walz's desk. Okay, let's go to Mars, where NASA's images confirm China's Zhurong Mars Rover hasn't budged in months. Questions have swirled around the status of China's charismatic Zhurong Mars Rover. The solar-powered rover went into hibernation state back on May of 2022 thanks to a dust storm and cold conditions. A sequence of images captured by NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter shows the rover hasn't moved since at least early September of 2022. The HiRISE team at the University of Arizona shared 3 different views of Zhurong on Tuesday. Zhurong looks like a bluish dot on MRO's HiRISE camera. Now, landscape features like dunes and a crater appear in the surrounding area of Mars's Utopia Planeta, the first image, which was released on March 11, 2022, and the second on September 8, 2022, and the most recent from February 7th of 2023. The rover is in the same place in the last 2 images, which doesn't bode well for its prospects. The China National Space Administration is famously secretive about its work, so official announcements regarding missions can be few and far between. The CNSA hasn't released any current updates on Zhurong. Zhurong arrived on Mars in May of 2021 as part of the Tianwen-1 mission, which included a lander and an orbiter. China became only the second country to successfully operate a rover on Mars, putting it in good company with NASA's rovers. Okay, let's go to France, where an archaeological site says Europe's first humans hunted with bows and arrows. A 54,000-year-old cave site in southern France holds hundreds of tiny stone points, which researchers say closely resemble other known arrowheads, including replicas that they tested on dead goats. The discovery, reported on the 22nd of February in Science Advances, suggests that the first Homo sapiens to reach Europe hunted with bows and arrows. but it also raises the question of why Neanderthals, which occupied the Grote Mandarin Rock shelter in the Ronon Valley before and after Homo sapiens, never adopted these superior weapons. Last year, researchers excavating Grote Mandarin claims that the site held the earliest known evidence of Homo sapiens in Europe. In one of the cave's archaeological levels, known as Layer E, researchers co-led by cultural anthropologist Ludovic Simac at the University of Toulouse-Jean-Jaurès in France identified a child's tooth and thousands of stone tools. They concluded that the child had been a Homo sapien. Among the tools were hundreds of tiny points, many of which were as small as 1 centimeter wide. They weighed only a few grams and were nearly identical in shape and size. The smallest points were similar to other arrowheads made by ancient and modern humans, and some contained similar fractures and other damage at their tips, which could have been created by high-velocity impact. Okay, new pictures are showing the meteorite chunk that was found after it slammed into Texas. A piece of a meteorite that streaked across the Texas sky last week, leading to numerous reports of loud explosions, has been recovered, according to the American Meteor Society. Residents in South Texas said they felt the ground shake and heard the loud booms on February the 15th, and home security cameras captured the moment the meteor entered the Earth's atmosphere. A photo shared on Facebook by the AMS shows a smooth, dark meteorite that was recovered on private property near El Sauz, Texas, by planetary science researcher Robert Ward. It wasn't only residents on the ground that reported the meteor. Hidalgo County Sheriff Eddie Guerrera said in a tweet that he was informed that air traffic controllers in Houston, about 350 miles away, received reports from at least 2 aircraft that they saw a meteor shoot across the sky to the west of McAllen. The National Weather Service in Brownsville/the Rio Grande Valley said that they too received multiple reports of a possible meteor in the sky to the west of McAllen. The National Weather Service said the flash from the meteor was also captured on the geostationary lightning mapper just before 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday. Okay, let's go over to Europe, where many United Kingdom grocery stores are limiting some fruit and vegetable sales as extreme weather impacts the supply. Many of Britain's largest grocery store chains this week introduced limits on the sale of specific vegetables and fruit as shortages of certain products continue to extend across the United Kingdom. Grocery giants including Tesco, Asda, Aldi, and Morrisons are struggling with their supply chains, particularly with products sourced from southern Spain and Morocco, where extreme weather has damaged crops. In Northern Europe, some farmers have also slashed production due to high energy prices, while the United Kingdom's food prices have risen almost 17% over the past year, which is the highest increase in almost half a decade. Okay, thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, all of the links for the articles that I have covered in this video, I will include in the video's description down below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want even more news, you can visit my website. The link for that is also in the description. And I will see everybody for even more news headlines tomorrow.